If someone were to ask me what I think about adoption, I would tell them it's probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
We started our adoption journey with Deaconess in 2014. We were working with their team, and we had been approved and active with them for a short time, and then we were contacted by another agency about working with a birth mom through them. So we prayed about it and felt that God was saying for us to do that. So we said yes. 3 weeks later, on March 28th, our son Thomas was born. We learned shortly after he was born that he was critically ill and that he needed to be transferred to OU Children's Hospital for further treatment. So basically, the vessels in his heart were backwards. Therefore, he was not able to exchange oxygen to his body like his heart and lungs so desperately needed. We spent 18 days at OU Children's Hospital with the absolute best staff that we could imagine. Through all of this, the Deaconess team would text us daily and let us know that they were praying for us and they were thinking about us. Being nurses ourselves, we understood the severity of the situation and what was going on and what was happening. Thomas went in for corrective surgery. 10 hours later, we were given heartbreaking news that his little heart and his body just could not hold up to the demand that was placed on it. So at 9:55 that night, we placed our precious son back into the arms of Jesus. And I remember I was never mad at God, but I just remember asking him, what is the reason for all of this? What were we to learn through this? And we prayed and we asked him to heal our hearts and to direct us if we were to adopt again. I remember walking around our yard and I would listen to Mr. Chapman's album, Beauty Will Rise. And the song, Spring is Coming, really touched my heart because somehow deep down I knew that our spring was coming too. And about a year before Thomas was born, I had started Mary Beth's book and I had to put it down because it was too painful for me to read it and think about that even happening or even imagine that happening. But after Thomas died, I remember I saw the book on my shelf and I pulled it out and I started reading it again and I read it all. Going through that, I could understand her pain. I could understand her heart and where she was coming from. And my heart needed that as well. At the gravesite one time, we went to place a pinwheel. And I remember kneeling down and praying as I was putting that pinwheel in the ground. And all of a sudden, that pinwheel started turning and it spun a lot. And I looked around and there was no wind at all. And I just closed my eyes and felt peace come over me because I knew that God was with me and he knew the heartache that I was feeling. And a few weeks later, we received some flowers and a card from Deaconess, and it was totally unexpected, but it was right on time. We always tell people how amazing the staff is during this time, even though we weren't technically a Deaconess case at the time. But they truly, to us, showed the love and compassion of Jesus, and it showed how deeply they care about their families. During this time, we did a lot of praying and seeking God's direction for our family. In April, we had shut down the nursery and we rarely went in there. And I was walking by one day and I heard the Spirit say, "It's time." And I turned and I looked at the nursery door and I felt that nudge again, like it's time to let the light in. I opened the door and I walked over to the window and I opened the curtains and the blinds and I felt the warmth and the sunlight and the peace come over me, and I cried, but this time it wasn't tears of heartache, it was tears of healing and thankfulness. So we contacted Deaconess and we let them know, and we were welcomed back with open arms. In January of that year, we were contacted by Deaconess and a birth mom about a baby due in February. And we said yes, and the middle of January, we met the birth mom. Meeting her for the first time, I just wanted to hug her.
It's an odd set of circumstances when you go in and meet someone who's going to give you a child, who is going to entrust one of the most special things in the entire world to you, to say, here, I trust that you will raise my child. And it was neat. It was something different. It's hard to describe, honestly.
And on February 1st, our son Samuel was born, and he was perfectly healthy. His name means God has heard, because God truly did hear our prayers. And what we sowed in tears, we reaped in joy. And we read that scripture daily on a little card that was in our kitchen window. God has been faithful, and He's walked with us through it all. And we not only know Him as our Father, but we know Him as our friend, as our healer, as our provider, as our peace. When we were grieving and healing with Thomas, God was knitting Samuel together in the womb, and they are 10 months apart. And we wouldn't have Samuel without Thomas. And we know that Samuel's got a testimony that was started before he was even born. Samuel's met other kids that are adopted too, and I love seeing the excitement in his voice when he runs up. He says, "Mom, they're adopted too." Isn't that amazing? He brings us so much joy. When I look at him, I see God's faithfulness and I see His love, and we wouldn't be here without the birth moms. And so I am so thankful for both of them. Because of their selflessness and their love, our lives are enriched. And even though the circumstances are different, I have the utmost respect for them, and I am so humbled that they chose us to be their parents.
What we've been given in the gift of being Samuel's parents is almost indescribable. The fact that somehow God in all His glory could make a perfect child for us, but not share a single strand of our DNA, is humbling. Being Samuel's dad has given me a picture of what being adopted by God is like. My life is tons richer and funner. I can't see my life without being an adopted dad.
Deaconess holds a special place in our hearts for so many reasons. Not only for the care that goes into educating families and birth mothers about adoption, but also for how much they cover their families with prayer, and they walk through them every step of the way, before, during, and after the whole process. To us, they truly show the compassion, grace, kindness, love, and the light of Jesus. Ever since becoming a Deaconess family, whenever someone asks us about adoption or where they should start, we automatically give them the Deaconess website, and we tell them our experience and our story with them. We're so thankful to be part of the Deaconess family, and we absolutely love seeing how God is using them to further grow His family.
And none of this would be possible without Deaconess. I'm forever grateful to them and to his tummy mama. Honestly, without them, I wouldn't know the honor of becoming Samuel's dad.